Tubers, welcome back. Mr. Fix-It. Somebody called me that the other day, so I adopted the name. This is Joe, Mr. Fix-It here. Look, I'm going to show you today on Chicago Electric Tools, also known as Harbor Freights. They still, in their cheaper line, have brushes in their power tools. So occasionally when I buy it, like when I bought the router, it came with a set of brushes that you could change out if they went bad. With this thing here, I bought this so many years ago, I don't know if it came with it or not. But as you can see, I've taken it all apart. I had to take the brushes out because they're spring loaded. And to get the turbine out, I had to, because there's a ball bearing on the end here. Okay, so this gets hooked up in the brushes if you don't take it out. So what I did was, on the end here, this was all black, so I sanded all that down. And by the way, the reason for this is because this thing was running inadvertently, shutting off, and then it wouldn't turn on. I had to bang it, so I figured I'd do my usual maintenance on these Chicago tools. Anyway, you take the brushes out because they get caught on this end here, so it's not that big of a deal. You just have to take part of the handle apart. It's 3 screws, and then the brushes are right in there. These are the brushes right here, if you could see them. They get screwed down inside there. So there's a collar here that you have to make sure you put back when you put it back together. And that goes right up in here. Make sure it's the right way. Okay, so that collar goes there like that. Then you're going to push this back up inside of here. That collar keeps the whole thing from bouncing around inside there. Okay, there's 4 screws here. This is basically all plastic, so you want to make sure. I'm putting in the 4 screws now. Now normally I do this with a screwdriver, but I had all this together here already, so just make sure you don't tighten it down real tight, because these will strip out. So I'm going to tighten these up. I also sprayed some lubricant down in the top end here to where the mechanism is, to make it vibrate. Okay, so then I'm going to, once I have that back in, I can put my brushes back in. There's 2 little screws for that. Okay, and they go right here. Like so. I don't know if you can see that or not. That's the one. Make sure your wires are all clear. And then I got the other side over here. Just push that back in place. Put your little screw in. Make sure you got your screw in the right hole. Alright, so this one isn't cooperating. That's why I usually use a screwdriver. This brush here has to be flat. There's like a bracket or clips that hold it in. Then you have to screw this screw in. Easier said than done. Okay, so I have both the brushes in there. Then you're going to put this back on top, like so. You want to make sure this thing is unplugged too. I wouldn't do this when it's plugged in. So we got 3 screws, 2 in the corded part here and 1 in the middle of the handle. Whoa. Of course I always have to drop something. So we put these screws like that. They go where the cord goes. You're going to screw them in. Okay. I'll plug it in and see what I got. So it's working again. Run it for a little while and get the lubricant inside of there. I can smell it in there. And also I just sanded the brushes down a little bit, so they have to wear, you know, that circular end in it again. But this should work, you know, for another year or 2. You can buy a warranty with these parts, which some of my friends do. They buy the warranty, and then when it goes bad, the warranty's like, you know, $8, and then they're just going to get another one, and they keep doing that over and over. Because as you can, these tools are cheap, but I mean, these are like, I call them, you know, throwaways, like brushes. You know, when you just use it like once or twice. This you use more than once or twice, but this is such a cheap tool that if it walks off the job, you know, it's not going to kill you, and if it lasts a year or 2, you're really getting your money's worth, because they're like the third of a price of you know, of a name brand. So I always keep a couple, you know, Chicago Electric tools around, and then if somebody on the job feels like, you know, my tools have to take a walk, you know, I can, you know, leave them, and they can feel like they accomplished something by, you know, taking my Chicago Electric tools for a walk instead of, you know, my my Milwaukee's or DeWalt's, which I can't stand. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. This was a video on cleaning the brushes, the turbine, and lubricating the head on Chicago Electric. It's a oscillating multi-function tool. I hope this helped you out, guys. Like and subscribe. Share this video. Have a good one. I'm out.